Welcome to Earth Impulse.
Yeah, I want to make some tacky joke here in the beginning, but I'll just start off. Real quick introduction. I don't think we really need to give bios or anything like that. This is an ongoing conversation. I'm Christine Anderson and co-founder of Earth Empaths with Claudia Ayaz. We're here today with Lily Kolosova and Melissa Camper. We've been having on and off for months now, lots of fun conversations. And today we really just want to share what we're finding, what we're discovering, maybe some helpful tips, helping others navigate these really deep waters that we are, as a collective humanity, going through. A lot of inspiration. And so we'll just go for it. And, I was thinking originally with Claudia that we would just talk a little bit about what is an empath, what are and I feel honestly that every human living sentient being is an empath. That we all have these abilities to feel energies, to feel deeply. We all have a deep intuitive nature. So I don't really like to put a name on anybody or anything, but maybe just talk about empathy in and of itself. Lily, I know your awakening came from a deep connection with Gaia, with Sophia, with the earth body itself. And I would say that would be the same for me also. A lot of people feel that being an empath is something that you need to learn how to block or protect yourself from. And I'm going deeper into a place myself where those are actually things that the outside environment wants us to do. They want us to shut off. They want us to close off. Where I feel like it's like really opening up and extending the body and the consciousness so that I can include everything in it. The dark, the light, the attacks, the illnesses, all of those things. Is really what helps me as a being anyways become more aware, stronger, more certain of standing in my own truth. And that would be about as much as I want to say. If anybody wants to add anything to that.
Well, empath has to do with empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this actually one of the most important things that makes us human. Because I want to say something about, maybe it's a little bit negative, but recently I've been researching and studying what this new drug that is made in China is doing to people, and it's actually intended and created to get rid of the empathy, or it attacks the part of our brain where the empathy is processed, or where we and what it does, and they did a lot of this in Russia, to where they test these drugs on people, and it actually makes people into this absolutely non-human bodies. It's like kills the soul of a human being. And so this is actually something that, what I say, artificial souls don't have, is what we have. This is a huge value to a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why empaths that express that are being attacked and all of that stuff, and we're being pushed away, so we don't express that.
Do you know where in the neurological system or what aspect of the brain that it's attacking? I mean, and how are they prescribing it? Are they just testing it, or are they actually using it as a prescription drug?
Well, they've tested on Russian military quite a bit of it, a lot of it, in past quite a few years now. And I think they've perfected it now, because it used to just kill the people, or people would go so crazy that there was nothing else it could be done but to just kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So that seemed to be is the latest sort of attempt to kill off a human timeline or get rid of it.
Wow.
So it's very important for us to actually stand in it and own our human human blueprint. I guess we have to own it. And there's a lot of it in this new energy. I think there's a lot of us that feel that we have to, what you were saying, Christina, we have to own everything. We have to own everything, because it is our creation. If we are to step back into a creator role here, then we have to take responsibility and own the creation.
Yes. Every single thing that we do is a form of creation. Every breath that we take, every movement that we make, every word that we speak, every thought that we hold, it creates a ripple effect in the reality that's around us. And as an empath, it's a beautiful gift to have that awareness of just how powerful you are. And it's an important responsibility to honor the awareness that you've been blessed with having, and to be able to fearlessly hold that space regardless of what is coming at you. And it's in that holding of the space that we're able to exercise the body technology of the alchemizing that then allows the healing for everybody else to transpire.
Yes. Beautifully said, Melissa. And I would underline certain things to the real simple, I mean, and all the complexity of all the creations that we've all been part of, and it is owning them. And I love what you said about the pointed awareness. And I'm finding for myself now that whatever I'm doing, I have this one conscious pointed awareness, and it is I am, and it's not the ego per se, but it's my existence within creation. So I'm very aware to the extent of every movement that I make, and it's like it's an amazing thing to find yourself in that, because as you're so one pointed tiny awareness in each moment, you actually are at the same time aware of all the multidimensional selves and all of and it's not in a linear mind form. I think maybe that's what they're really working towards, keeping us from these very subtle fields of energy, right? They're very subtle. You don't find them, they're the things that the mystics write about. They're the, the avatar body, you said the avatar body, the original blueprint of the avatar body. And we tend to look like somebody else out there can do that. There's a Jesus, a Christ, or there's a Buddha, or there's all these others that have shown what we really are in essence. And yet, here's this juxtaposition. No, Lily, I mean, we've got the Chinese and the Russian government and the US government. We have all of these systems right now doing everything they can to stop this collective consciousness. I mean, it's an individuated consciousness, but it's a collective consciousness that's really changing things and the information.
Because the word consciousness is very desperate. So whoever is still in that field or operating from that field, and connecting and supporting more consciousness timeline, those of course are they're being used by that consciousness to bring the collective human consciousness down, because it is rising. It is, people are waking up, and actually I have a feeling that every level, and even every level of the government, has people that are in there that have woken up now.
Mm-hmm.
Every level, because somewhere deep within me, I know that we planned this, and we planned it well, and we all know deep inside here that we know exactly what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And as I always felt that the system have been infiltrated, because if it hasn't, we wouldn't be having this kind of conversations. We
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be experiencing what we are experiencing right now. And at this point, I have a very strong feeling that there is no stopping of this awakening. It is happening. It's just a matter of recognizing, or for those people that are still supporting the word consciousness, they just have to see the writing on the wall.
Well, you said something earlier before we put on the recording, and maybe this is a good transition point to that, is that as one individuated self, you, me, Claudia, Melissa, all the other people that Niels, we've all been having these very fluid, ongoing group conversations, and we're all working at a level of clarity and clearing and dealing with our own shadows and dealing with our own creator self that's been projecting this reality. We become like, when you were saying it, Lily, I got the image of a water drop, a water sphere. Like our original self is within that, and that when we're clear enough, we become reflective bodies. So we're like reflective bodies within this war consciousness. And so anything outside of that keeps projecting the darkness, and it bounces back, or we're able to, not even in judgment. I mean, I have to say, I've had to accept my own responsibility for my own shadow that is the part of the war consciousness, because I want to ask you, Lily, who are they that are the war consciousness, right? I mean, are we looking at outside forces from different universes that have come in here? Are we looking at us?
The way I see it, it's the consciousness that invaded us a while ago. And actually what I'm thinking that is because everything is so like inside out that it's so interesting to try to change it and to see it for what it is, because it's almost like you have to turn everything inside out. So as I am trying to do this, and again, this is just my opinions, this is the way I perceive and see and view what is happening in my outside creation. So I'm not saying that this is how everyone should see it. This is the way I see it, because I always share just what I go through, what I personally experience, what I personally think, how that whole process, everything is my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
So in my own understanding on this is that this consciousness came in here, invaded us, but actually what the bigger plan was always to make this consciousness come in and lock it up and heal it, so it doesn't spread through the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's here now. It's caught in the net that it created to control, but now it's on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's freaking out. Right now it's freaking out. And those people, and because it's inverted, so this awakening, the real awakening, is happening also in that inverted way. It's happening from within with people that are everyday people like you and me, you know, that are nobodies pretty much. But at the same time, everybody that been in this pyramid of control through this war consciousness, now the pyramid's going the other way around. It comes here as a center with an individual on the individual level, and then it expresses out. And then what happens is, you can see the levels of control, but from a different perspective. That's the way I see it, from a different point of view. I'm hearing it and seeing it and feeling it all from this side. So to me, those people in even that are controlled by this consciousness, those on the lower levels are waking up to the truth of it first. So even if you take, you know, the dark side has to wake up as well if they're here, because they're locked here now. And we're all in the same boat now. And a lot of people on the dark side, they're recognizing that, but they're still on the lower levels. But as we move forward and as we express more of this truth of our timeline, and as we create our reality more from bottom up, I sort of, and I said this to Melissa yesterday, it feels like we have to break the system from inside out. So we're, you know, and then it will get to those higher levels. And, you know, and I know that, that people in alternative communities, for some reason, they want to change, but they want to change the top levels first, and then see if the same system from the top to the bottom can make the changes. But on this timeline and with this energy, and what we've experienced, I think, in talking with so many people lately, you know, and having this kind of group conversations on what we're going through. And what I am recognizing right now is I see a little bit of a bigger picture, how all of that has to happen. It has to be broken from within, and we have to create it new from within and expand to where it breaks and pushes the system out of our existence.
Absolutely. It's the ripples Melissa was talking about earlier. I mean, all the change comes from within ourselves, has that ripple effect outward. And that's how change happens.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and because otherwise, I mean, just in the logical common sense aspect of it, you know, there are those that are trying to change the system outside it without doing the inner work. And really what they're doing is putting in other control mechanisms. And, you know, I mean, just the logic itself says if, you know, we're going into a sense of fluid freedom and of why we're here, the remembering of it. And I agree with you, Lily. I mean, I have the same experience where it's almost like an absolute state of certainty within me. I mean, it gets bashed around and I forget it sometimes, but it's like I can see that we already know this. It's already been put out there. It's already been done. We are just walking to it or into it or embracing it. I don't even know what the right word for that is.
Allowing.
You know, and really what it is being able to tune your own frequency, your own vibration, your own self, and call it love or call it true essence of compassion, or the true knowledge or gnosis that we all are connected in these ethers, that you really can't act any longer under an old paradigm thought form that I am separate. You know?
Yes, and there's a lot of that separation that being spread around through that projection, or that not understanding or not accepting the self as a creator. This is what I see the biggest thing that is happening, is that instead of accepting the self and going within, people are too afraid of their own darkness. And so for that, they put so much attention onto trying to change things from outside. But the way they are trying to do it is by dividing the self. And like you were writing so beautifully, Christine, that article, the latest you did on End of the War within self, it's a huge key to understand how we create and how to step into the creator self, because you have to end war within first. You have to become whole, meaning you gotta accept the dark and the light part of you into one as you, which is authentic you. It's both inclusive. I always say that Earth timeline is a timeline that's inclusive to both. It's a new that's different, new, but it's inclusive to both, because it's inclusive to all creation that's here. Universe this is universal creation. We are within universe, so it is universal creation. It's just very difficult to explain this in words to people, because people that have not experienced, they feel like it's all good. That separating dark and light is what they need to do, but they always hit that wall with it, because you can. Because if you're on outside of reality, you go all the way to the end and you're gonna hit a dead end. It's only through within that we can connect to the ether and align all of our 3 levels of consciousness with that. And so I see a lot of this. There's still so many people, out there that are speaking in contradiction,
Yeah.
There's a lot of, and I was just, we had that talk with Earth Soul Group, and we talked about how there is in alternative communities, how service to self and service to others program has been used, and nobody questions what it is. But for us, for those of us that understand the creator within, or that are active from a creator within, we see that as a division, because self is everybody. Service to self is service to everybody. Service to everybody is service to self. But this is how clever and twisted this control system, the war consciousness, because we have to understand that saying came from a war consciousness.
Separation. Service to other. Service, just saying service to other puts you automatically in an elite stance. I mean, that separation. Okay, I am at service to other. So it separates you out, right?
Yes.
And says that I somehow stand out here as your savior. It's part of the savior me.
Yes. Definitely. And that's the thing. And when we sort of go out there and you say, oh, this is a war consciousness program. This is AI in the head that makes a human being be at war with the self. Because when I hear that there's a knife that's sticking right through myself, separating me and making me feel like I am not myself, I'm not worthy, unless I feed war consciousness. Because separating that is separating the self, or creating a self-hate. Because as soon as you want to step into that, I am in service to others, what that saying does energetically, it actually turns you against yourself. So it creates self-hate. So, and that's exactly what war consciousness does.
Right. So,
because that's the only way it can exist. Is if we are at war with ourselves. How many people out there that are telling humanity that they're work for humanity's betterment right now, and they want for humanity to be creators of their reality, and they're using that saying, because that is a trigger for AI program.
Yes. Well,
That's a program.
And that's what it does, is it'll take the wholeness of something that's beautiful and then create this illusionary perspective of separation, taking that wholeness and dividing it. And like you're saying, it'll be service to self, service to others, or positive, negative, male, female. But what I wanted to say that triggered, when you were looking for that word, Christine, the word that resonates with me is allow. It's in, like, we don't even have to do anything. All we have to do is just allow ourselves to be our natural way of being. And that friction is created when we don't allow ourselves to remember just how powerful we are. I think it's not only the fear of our shadow, but I think it's the fear of our light. It scares the crap out of us that, you mean, I don't have to go from, point A to point C in order to create something. You mean, I can just feel it into being? I can just create it to be that way? And so instead of really embracing and remembering the power that we've shown up here with, we've tried to adapt all of these brainwashing mentalities, and that in itself creates the friction and the war within as well. And it's in every single level of what we look at where this friction is. And if we can get down to the very basis of it, of accepting who and what we really are and just how powerful we are, then it will ripple out to all the other layers of that thought process and just dissolve it away. And then that war mentality will no longer have a platform upon which it can stand.
I was thinking, with what you're saying, Melissa and Claudia and Lily, is that, there's a true alchemical process that happens here. Maybe we can step into that a bit, and just to encourage anybody, excuse me, that might be listening, that, we're dealing with these, the further out we get into the polarities of dark and light, good and bad, evil and benevolence, and all of these things that have been separating us. And I felt this so deeply in myself, where I had these polar things pulling me, literally splitting me apart. And it wasn't until I was able to implode them within my own heart chamber, taking both the dark and the light, the extreme. And sometimes we go super extreme. And we can play in the really dark edge. We can play in the really love and light edge. But when you do that, there is a true alchemical process that happens. And the reason I want to bring it up is to anybody that's dealing with their own self right now. They're walking into their own walls. They're feeling the own pushback. They're feeling whatever they might be, that it's only by walking through these things, through the fear, through the pain, through it, being able to embrace it and hold it long enough that we can actually alchemize it. We're never going to be able to do it outside of ourselves. It's just not going to happen. I mean, and I think we all sitting here in this room know that very, very well. And you were saying earlier, Melissa, too, about alchemy, like the body that we're sitting in right now, right? That seems to be in this overlaid physical form that we're so stuck in, right? Illness, the assaults on us, the drugs, the frequency wars, all of this that's going on. How do we alchemize all of that? What is the overlay? What is it what we're missing? That's a very important aspect, I think, right now, with many people experiencing protracted illnesses,
Right.
Things of that.
And that's part of my perspective on the allowing ourselves to accept just how powerful we really are. I really feel deeply that we don't need anything outside of ourselves to sustain our well-being. I feel like when we are living from our natural state of being, we don't need to ingest food. We don't need to ingest water. We don't need to consume anything. Everything comes from within. And the less that we consume, the more we feel. And when we can come into that state of just allowing our true blueprint to come forward and dissolve that overlay, then the power that's available is amazing. And that underneath, that plasma, that ether, whatever that true energy is, that is the alchemizing property. And the more we heal ourselves, the more easily we're able to alchemize. The cleaner we get, the more we tap into this power. And that, to me, seems to be the key, is the body technology. Because like Lily and I, we were talking yesterday, we were talking about a dirty energy versus a clean energy. And this overlay of the dirty energy that's affecting us, that keeps us locked into the overlay that's generated through food or the frequency war or whatever. It's creating this illusion of the war between positive and negative. It all goes back to that same dualistic separation. But for me, it seems like the key is, if we can clean and clear the body technology, the body vessel, then our true divine essence, the true blueprint, will continue to build in its momentum and its strength. And eventually, that's all that will be left, because the overlay will completely dissolve.
So beautiful. I mean, because I've been really steadily since December, and all this comes into, everything we're speaking right now comes into this personal knowledge of self, the gnosis that we're working on. So I've had all these different minor illnesses, from bacterial to fungal to viral, right? And instead of fighting it, I reversed it. I go, what am I learning here? What is this teaching me here? Why is this here? I don't care really if it's coming from the chemtrail flu or it's coming from an attack vector or whatever, because it's in my field now. Therefore, in my field, it's my responsibility to look at it. And it a lot of this comes from, I would call the war, what's called the war miasm. I mean, we've all had, the human body has had miasmic illnesses, starting with psoriasis and psora and leprosy. And it's been the weakening and the dirtiness of the beautiful body temple, right? And so we're going through a reverse process of clearing these fields, but we also have overlays from the AI field, from all sorts of things. So it's getting my own consciousness to the place that I'm not at war with any of this, that I'm allowing, I love it, Melissa, that allowance that my own body is going to be able to make the right antibodies, make the right adjustments. I also, as responsible consciousness, have to make adjustments within my diet, within my field, whatever that fluid state is. And I'm going totally raw right now. It's the only way I can eat at the moment. I can't, it's really interesting if you just let those energies inform. And it's not because somebody else out there is doing a class on veganism, or I went and took. No, it's like we are in the information. We are not are in it. We are the information field, and it's so that's it's really helpful for me to have this conversation with you all, because I'm getting the reflection back through your sharing with the knowledge that I need to affirm my own inner process. Does that make any sense?
Yes, you do, because it's so funny, all that process in the body that changes, so many changes. We were just talking with Melissa yesterday. I'm like, I've been living on honey.
Yeah.
I can't take anything else. I've been living on it for the last 3 months.
Right.
And so we're processing this, and a lot of people are going through all that. All of a sudden, it's just, you feel like you need to do something with your body. Like I did a blood cleanse, a lot of people are doing turpentine and things like that. It's just cleaning all the parasites out. And that can only be from within, because all is within. And that temple, that original template that is pure, that is connected to ether or the living light creative source power, it is within. So that template is expanding, and that whatever is not in alignment with it, we go, oh, I got to do this, or I can't eat that, or I only eat that. And I listen to my body, what I crave. And what I've been craving mostly is just honey.
Well, Claudia, I was going to say to Claudia, what were we talking yesterday? And what we've been both eating, raw garlic and raw onion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, we didn't
cleaning the parasites.
Totally. Well, and then this is where that service to self has to come in. And if we are doubting, if we have that inner pull, and for one moment, if we go, oh, well, that would be nice to do, but I have to go be a mom, or I would really love to follow that intuitive tug, but we have a party to go to tonight, so I don't really want to be weird when everybody else is being another way. No, you have to be of service to self in those manners in order to heal not only yourself, but the entire collective. And it's in doing that that we bring this forward. So yes, get rid of the clocks, get rid of the mirrors, get rid of schedules, let everything from inside guide everything.
Yeah, I mean, that is really the essence of anything we're sharing right now, is that there is you, and and you have your own connection, and there's nobody outside of you that can really give you that. It's just, nobody can. I don't care. You can't, nobody can save another. Nobody can do for somebody else what they won't do for themselves. I know. I mean, been there, tried that, done that. I've been hitting my head on that wall for a long time. You know, so it's like
we all
over and over.
Right? You know, and I mean, I guess we have to go through that too. You know, it's like you have to try everything. You know, whatever it is that's coming up in you, go for it. I mean, you're going to find your own self in that process. I can't give that to anyone. I can share. And I know there's people that will hear this podcast and they'll go, wow, that's exactly what I'm feeling. Thank you, because they're getting the reflective affirmation for themselves.
Yeah.
Not because there's any authority figure sitting here telling them how to think or what to think. You know, and that's the best I think we can really do right now. And reaching that, I think you said it earlier, I don't know when we were recording, Melissa, but a sense of seamlessness, right? Where we are still individuated consciousness, right? And we still have an identity, because I'm sitting here talking, so I have to have an identity, right? I have to have some identity to be differentiated from all of us so that I can speak. But I can seamlessly move from one aspect to the next. I can be this person sitting here speaking right now publicly for a recording, and I can move 1 minute into the kitchen and be chopping onions and going that this is my being. It's not separated. It's not like I have to break here. I don't have to break from this being to the next identity to the next identity. And I think that's the state of consciousness within the fluid realms that we are returning to and being able to be in. And it's, in a lot of ways, it's not easy because of what you just said, Melissa, the parties, the mom identity, the I should be's, I shouldn't be's identities, the clock, the workforce. I mean, I look at so many people locked in the slave system. And I just want to say, you know, please, you don't have to. The universe is abundant. Step out of it, you know, and in whatever way you can. I don't know. Anyways, I got a little passionate there. I'm going to take myself off video for a second. I have to take a moment break. Okay. And I'll let you ladies go on. Okay.
It's interesting, that fluidity. I don't know what other, to feel yourself in that fluidity, and to accept all these levels into as you, as part of you, even the personality, even everything. It's like, what it does to me, it makes me fall in love with myself.
Yes.
I'm like so in love with myself right now. And, you know, just living on honey for most part, I feel so much more energy. I'm like bouncing now, full of energy. It's crazy.
Right. You're not utilizing your energy to digest and assimilate the food from the external source. You're able to utilize it to create and to digest your external reality as your experience. So you're able to receive more from it instead of being split, and part of your awareness is digesting and then the other part is becoming aware. You know what I mean? That separation.
So I think it's part of it all, integrating that level of consciousness, you know, the 3 levels of consciousness, aligning, integrating into being you, into the being. That's how we become. Then we be that creators, or the ether dimension, or I don't know what to name this.
I see it when you speak of the 3 levels. I mean, there's always been the 3, right? The 3 separation, that when they aligned, I can only describe it as aligning in your own inner truth. And when you hit that frequency, you feel it. Now, I can't describe it. I can't. I can only know it. And when that knowing comes in, it's almost as if you have a core that starts vibrating. It's like it's not even just like, I don't know. I feel it sometimes as like, I mean, a lot of it's been described as a sword of truth. When it pierces you completely, you are like a forged being, and you start vibrating at a level that you can't be knocked off of. Now, things can try to, but you feel it, you know it, and it's you. It's not me, it's you. And I think that's really the fundamental message right now for all of us, is to be true to that without, everything that might want you to be other than that you were created to be. And when it gets strong enough, Lily, and I feel it so strong in all of us, is that it does vibrate out through the ethers. It does ripple. It does have effect. And the whole construct of the world wants us to see that it doesn't have effect. So they're fighting it to keep it in our visual construct matrix field that, no, you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. And I do have moments still where I go, these doubts or shadows or whatever you want to say, you're not doing anything. Ha, ha, ha. It's almost like there's something out there laughing, going, ha, you think you can do this? But
it's I'm laughing because I've been through so many of those. It's like I go like, what the hell? You crazy? You completely crazy.
You are.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you're crazy. So I think,
and then I go, but I like being crazy. So,
that's right.
All right.
So I want to bring Claudia into the conversation, and I'm going to bring up the subject that we've all been like speaking about without speaking about it. And it is about the negative outward projection. And Lily, when you were speaking, I think what really triggered me to write that piece was a conversation we had about our reptilian brain. All right. That primordial aspect of us, this is built into us, right? And so we've been, how many, really almost decades now, we've projected out our negative self onto the reptilians and the Dracos as the perpetrators of a negative reality. And that's still very, very, very prevalent. And I've always had that little like tickle at the back of my neck, because this is where it lies. I've always had that aspect of myself that knows itself as reptilian, right? It's part of this. I have memories of it and all of that. So what the tendency has been doing is by painting the Dracos and the reps as these really bad overlords. I'm not saying that didn't exist, right? But that the acceptance of that being part of ourself also. So we stop that. And it's I think we're at a place in consciousness right now where we look at other races, other alien, we call them alien races. How much of that is part of us?
Was it Will at the Lost Talk said that we have 22 different races DNA that we are healing here? 22 races through this body.
Okay.
Right here. This is who we're responsible for. Right here. So that is, imagine that all of that is here. But of course, our original brain is reptilian. And do you see how the word consciousness turned that against us? And it keeps perpetuating in so many alternative channels, the so-called channels that are trying to work for humanity and help humanity into self-acceptance by creating a war within self. Because that's the number one thing. If you have that belief system that reptilians are awful and you know and all of that stuff, it's just like service to self and service to other. Your oldest brain, your original brain, because it's the first brain that develops, is reptilian. So you cutting yourself from yourself by hating the reptilian DNA. which is you.
Right.
I mean, like, it's so funny. Because I see all these contradictions, and I'm like so ready to start laughing because it's funny how people, the belief systems are so, I'm sorry, so stupid.
Well, they are. Well, you
It's
know,
like
I mean,
so stupid.
it's like Mike Emery, who, I mean, if anybody hasn't heard him, I suggest that you look him up. But I mean, he's like, he calls them, we're the village idiots of the universe.
I know. It's like so embarrassing.
I know. It's like when you start to wake up, you start to realize that, you know, that it's been this lockdown, and it is stupid. It really is. And you can call it the fool on the journey, or we can we can put it into the archetypes and all of that. But there's a level of it when you wake up enough, you just go, wow. And then, I mean, Claudia and I, you know, in the Earth Empaths, it's like what really started waking me up was really experiential data. And we all have that within us. None of us in this group that we formed 4 years ago now. We started allowing ourselves, trusting ourselves in our inner perceptual data. And Claudia, I mean, I want to bring you in. I mean, when we started working with the reptilians and the Dracos, what happened? What did they teach us?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, but what happened was, instead of being afraid of them, we entered into communion with them.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, and they've become some of our greatest allies.
Yeah.
Within consciousness, because there wasn't a separation anymore. And it just, for me, that was so instructive as to how separate we are and how we are entrained to dislike, distrust, and hate. I was so afraid of the reptilian in me. Okay. I never was really afraid of it out there. I was afraid of it in me. I was afraid of the dragons. Okay. I mean, because what happens with the dragon realm is that they're huge plasmatic force fields, right? That we've interpreted as dragons, and they exist, and they are beings, and they have their own consciousness. But we've been like, you know, the whole thing of the city of London and the Draco and the dragon forces and all of that, that's been, you know, like, don't go there. Oh no, don't look, right? And it's all been done to keep us from doing that. And, you know, I know with Claudia that, you know, her protectors are from that realm. And that was my first introduction for me into opening myself up away from that fear to interchange with them, to commune with them, to allow those forces back into their natural configuration. And, you know, so I see all of that, Lily, what you've been bringing up, you know, by daring to say, well, you know, are they going to say that the reptilians are their friends? Well, I am.
Yep.
I know.
Absolutely.
It's like, but at the same time, I am at the point where it's like, you know, for humanity and for those that might really judge us harshly for saying this, and this going to be all those that are screaming, oh, reptilians are bad and all of that stuff, that build their careers and made a lot of money putting people in fear about reptilians, right?
Mm-hmm.
They made a lot of money. That was their intent. They built on that. And so for people now to be mad at us for saying the truth, you know, which we talked about it, it's going to happen because that's just the way it seems, like the consciousness. But for those people, I want to say, you know, if it makes you upset, if it makes you, what we're saying, if it makes you go here, it is your own self-hate.
Mm-hmm.
It is your own self-hate. It's your body is telling you you're doing something wrong. You're not accepting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're enslaved to that war consciousness because that's what it wants. It does not want you to accept your reptilian brain because that's your original thought are created through there. So they don't want you to be thinking. They want you to be stupid. So you've been programmed to be stupid, and if you're acting like that, and you're rejecting that. You're rejecting yourself, a huge part of yourself, a huge part of your DNA that for some reason, that contradiction, people wanted to activate their DNA, but they want to get rid of their reptilian DNA within them. How are you going to do that? It's like nobody has the answer for that. People are just talking to create that state of being of self-work or work within self. And that's what they've been doing. And that's a matrix program. That's a consciousness. It will never help you. So for people that are going to reject this and all of that stuff, it's like you stop acting that way. Stop seeing, you only been treated by control system this way because you allow it to believing their program of that war within self.
I'm going to take.
That's what it is.
Okay.
That's what it is. This consciousness. This consciousness is very low frequency, and it wants to keep humanity there, and that's how it does it, through self-hate, because the human template is a lot higher. The consciousness level is higher, so it needs to bring down. And the first thing is going to bring down your own vibration is your own rejection of yourself. And that, in this case, we're talking about reptilian. That's
I want to just
my view.
I'm going to pop it right into the opposite field, okay, right now, Lily, because when we were speaking earlier, and I started talking about us being spheres of a liquid type of sphere. I want to take it right back now to the sphere beings, okay, and to the higher aspects of ourselves, if we can call it that. Right? That's not outside of us either. There is no blue avian, blue sphere being, blue ET out there that is not also part of our genetic structure. And I've been tapping into those fields myself now, right? And I'm starting to see, even in the physical, when I'm very close and trusting with somebody, I start to see this overlay. It starts to morph. And I can see the blue coming through. I can see that race of beings that's been in our field for a very long time, which is part of us also, right? And so anybody that's out there promoting right now some alien race from outside of ourselves is going to come save us is still buying in to the savior memes. They're still making money on it. They still signed a contract with somebody out there somewhere, right? They're not talking about freeing humanity. They're not talking about freeing the individual, because they're talking about something outside of the self that's going to come in and do the work for us. It ain't going to happen. And I say that with my own sense of certainty. I don't expect anybody else to believe me, but it comes from my own truth. So if you think that on one side that it's a negative reptilian, you haven't seen yourself. If you think on the other side that there's some alliance out there, right? Some galactic federation of light, some ascended master programming that's going to come save us, that's not it either. You have to incorporate all of that into yourself. Anyways, there you go. That's what you inspired in me, Lily, talking right now.
I know. It's like I'm ready to start like showing these contradictions and go, what are you, what program are you running that you are not capable or able as a human being to see the contradiction in your words, in your belief systems, in all of that stuff. And this is the agenda of work consciousness. This is the transhuman timeline. This is the deadlight timeline. The thing is that because of the higher levels are so cut off from the inner self, because the higher they're up on that control system, the less connection they have to a human part of them. They're completely possessed. Some of these people in the higher levels, they're possessed by this consciousness, by the word consciousness. So they're propagating its agenda. So they're just the empty shells. And most people that propagate and keep telling everybody that it's somewhere here or there, or you should hate a reptilian, and that's how you ascend, by hating a reptilian. It's like, when you hear that and you watch this and other people go, oh, yay, and you go, you don't know to laugh or to cry.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know what to do, because the big part of me, I just want to laugh into their faces, because these people are idiots. I'm sorry, but I've seen so many idiots trying to scream and yell how little nobody they are. They're trying to talk humanity into slavery and being at war with self.
Mm-hmm.
And people say it's positive for humanity. What's positive about it? I don't know. Where do people see positive in that? That's not empowering.
Mm-hmm.
That's so disempowering.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to, with that, because this is something that, that was so fundamental in my coming together with Claudia and other women, and then meeting Lily and Melissa. And there's so many in the men, and, that we're all sharing on this level, was we come from an experiential, we're like a fractured being, all of us together. And each of us are having very individuated, spiritual, shamanic, whatever type of experiences. And these happen on just below this plane of existence, right? We're still very trapped into the visual audio field of this matrix. But if you just go down right below it, there's this amazing field of information. And really, when we started, we were very motivated to go into the war consciousness, go into Syria, go deal with these people, go deal with some of the things that we're seeing. And these became very real shared experiences. So we started running into reptilians, right? Dracos. And what we found time and time and time again, by opening up a trust field, a love field, a field of acceptance, that these beings would start to commune with us. And what they were part of our consciousness, right? They weren't at war with us, right? If we weren't at war with that aspect, it wasn't at war with us. And I had one extraordinary experience where I found myself on a craft with 5 reptilian commanders, because I was super involved in all of that, right? My whole consciousness got pulled into secret space program and all of that. And as soon as I was in that space within consciousness, those 5 warrior type reps, with all of their fierceness, joined into a communion with me, with no war against me. And I learned so much during that moment by allowing myself that experience, without judging that experience, without saying whether it was real or it wasn't real, was that, we are the generators of war.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
are, right? Because I didn't go fight them. I didn't go hate them. I was just there. And they took from my consciousness an aspect, and they fed to me, and they took what we were communing on a nonverbal plane, and I could feel them literally go with it and saying, like they could also relax, that they could also not be at war. Where we were so entrained as warriors. I know I'm a warrior being in a lot of ways, that I would go into these fields and I would fight them, and so I'm learning myself not to do that. Right? And it is reflective in the reality. It really is.
As within, so without.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes right back to not shutting yourself down, the way that we started the conversation when we began the recording, of not allowing ourselves to constrict our energy field, whether we're dealing with it in the ethers or somebody physically right next to us. This beautiful ability that we have as beings to hold this field, we absolutely have to keep it open so that we can alchemize whatever it is that's out of alignment within that whole entire energetic. Whether it's reptilians or humans.
Right. Well, just to have that ability, that growing ability, just to observe, to see, right? To shut the matrix mind, AI controlled mind off that is always separating and always criticizing, judging, naming, labeling. And I mean, this is spiritualism 101. I mean, this is everything that we've all been, taught from anybody that's achieved a degree of mastery, right? And that also is not an ending plane that we're going to get to. We become master, that's just the door. That's just the door of opening into potentialities, right? So it's not like we end up somewhere finite. No, it's not like that. But but there have been masters. There have been those that have experienced these things. They've been teaching for a long time, right? So that observer's self, that non-judgmental. I mean that, and then the inverse is like, well, then I'm responsible, right? If I am the observer of this reality, I am therefore responsible, and that's what comes back to that point of consciousness or attention that we have to everything we're doing, every word that's coming through us, every act. I mean, I do feel that way, Melissa. It's like when my hand moves from here to there, when I'm in consciousness, I am literally moving energy.
Yes. Yeah, you can feel it. It's so clean. And like you were just saying, we created it. So even in that moment of feeling like, oh, we're taking in this energy and we're alchemizing it for the outer world, we're healing something within ourselves. That's what the whole process is. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's wow.
I know, and that the thing about responsibility, it comes up a lot for me too. It's just very recently, I just spoke through another layer within my own self, and the only words that I am sort of starting to put together is that responsibility.
And I just break it apart. Responsibility, right? The ability to respond, right? Yes. And we can only respond in a fluid nature when we've busted out of the control belief systems. Otherwise, we are always going to be judging ourselves and all of our actions, right? So the fluid being doesn't do that. It has an innate ability to respond. And it's not a big thing. It's not like responsibility. It doesn't feel like that.
It's very subtle.
Exactly.
It's very, very subtle. It's that shift. It's almost like when somebody, if you're going through something in your life and there's the vamping version of it where somebody can say, oh, I'm so concerned about you. I'm so worried about you. Totally vamping you, right? Versus, versus just let me know if you need something. I'm here for you. You know what I mean?
God,
it's so subtle.
It is. It is like, or somebody that gets behind you to overly support you, right? Yes. They want to put you forward, right? They're pandering to ego, right? And really, what they're doing is that they're not accepting their own responsibility. So they want to put you out there forward. They can do it on the positive or the negative. It doesn't really matter. Or they can.
And it'll flip in a heartbit too. Positive, and then when you don't behave the way that they want you to behave, then you receive the negative.
Exactly. Well, we had been talking about that earlier, and that is the other aspect is how much each of us has overcome in different ways to be able to even appear publicly, right? Because what happens is you step yourself into the mass consciousness field, right? So now you are putting yourself out there for the projection of others. So anybody that isn't in their own clarity and their own responsibility, they are going to, whatever way they can, either individually or massively, throw something back at you, right? And it's their projection. It's their shadow. It's their negativity. I've had to learn a lot for myself. I've had to continue to clear so that when that happens to me, I don't take it in. Right? Because that's another very subtle thing that's been embedded in us, right? Through the New Age movement and mind thought and all of that, is that we're such, if something's coming at me, I must have drawn it in. I must be the progenitor of it. When I know inside I'm not a lot, right? I know that I'm now at a place where I'm holding a field. not in my ego self. And that there are those that don't want to see their own shadow, don't want to accept their responsibility, so they start to project onto it. And it's not an automatic, all right, that if that's happening to you, I mean, it is on a very big picture frame, but in a day by day life, I had to come to a place, or I came to a place myself, where I know well enough my own truth that I'm not actually entering in that game anymore. I'm not part of that game anymore. I'm not. So I'm actually in the field. I'm actually a part of everything that's going on, but my consciousness is not engaging at that level any longer. So I'm seeing it differently, if that makes sense. Because it's between that separation and non-separation aspect, there's still, there's still those that want to play a game. They want to engage you in that game. They want to pull you in. It's just like you said. And if you don't respond in the way that they want, we can't get away from the fact that we interact and exchange with each other either.
Well, it's the friction energy versus creation energy. Mm-hmm. And you can tell by the relationship what type of energy they're feeding off of. Are they sovereign, or are they vamps?
Well, I mean, that's a really good way to put it, because it comes back to what you said originally, and it is, Melissa, and it is a place I believe that we are all moving towards the potential of possibility of the manifest, is that we don't need energy from outside ourselves, that we are the generators of our own energy, or as one of my friends said, we are the genesis of love. That's what we really are in the most essential aspect. But all these things that we've been talking about are all the layers that we have to penetrate, clear, alchemize, whatever we say, to get to that state of being. And that, to me, is only a beginning.
Yes, and that would. The other thing I was going to say is that responsibility is like a state of being. Mm-hmm. That is in that's your field that you are responsible for and you're aware of. So that's why you know that this is your game. And so the more of becoming of this energy I work on and become, more, then it gives me more and more awareness of my own field, which is that love field, because that's the love, it gives me more awareness of that. So it becomes a state of being. And so it's so much easier to recognize that the vampiric game moves. Mm-hmm. You just see through them as an observer of it, because as you are always in this being, in this mm-hmm. love field or ether field or whatever people want to call it, but it doesn't pull you in the more you are that field. Mm-hmm. But you see it so clearly, and that's why it's like I laugh a lot about people like attempting to play up to my ego or something, or get my ego trapped in something and all of that stuff. But in this field, you're fully aware, and you're capable then of just reflecting that energy back by being in this field without that energy having any effect on you. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say right now it feels like this energy has expanded, and it seems like it's a state of being. You're so like in this, you're capable all the time being responsible or being able to respond in this field, through this field. Mm-hmm. And so everything is just sort of, you're welcome it. You're like, okay, you're not like what we were talking about, that we were a lot of times we were closing this energy in mm-hmm. and hiding it. And right now it is so powerful. It's like it's vibrating within me and expanding in my personal field. And so now it's like it makes for me all this things of the games and everything, and see the craziness and the stupidity of this game so clearly. It shows it so clearly, but the people are still acting in that, on that program. They don't recognize that they're that obvious.
Mm-hmm.
They don't recognize it at all.
Well, and that field, that energy that you're talking about is the only thing that we can control.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It doesn't matter if we try to play the game of chess and manipulate all of the external pieces of the game. It will never work. The only way that we can bring the healing and the only thing that we can control is this energy field. And in the moment that we recognize that we are out of alignment, making whatever necessary adjustments needed to come back into that space. And then eventually that separation doesn't exist any longer.
Right.
So people in the beginning, they'll have one foot, in their true authentic self, then they have the other foot in whatever the personas are that they'll wear at different times. And, maybe it'll just be a moment here, and then most of their time is over here. And then eventually it becomes more equal. And then it becomes more and more of the allowance of the true self. And then it becomes this, wow, I can't even remember a time when there was a split within myself, that I had to actually put effort into making a choice. Now it's just an effortless allowance.
Yeah, and that's when we can start to be fluidly responsible to everything around us, because we're not in that mind construct. We're just in that natural beingness that we are. And I like that you said, and you become so sensitive. Like I'm so sensitive now where, if I'm out of that alignment, it's immediately noticeable to me. If there's one thought that I have that's not in alignment, I'm like, where is that coming from? Wait a minute, so it's exactly what you're saying, Melissa. And it's just really continuously holding to your core. And that core is the connected core. That's the inner sun. That's connected to all of creation. That core that is you is connected to all of creation. And you actually have to alchemize. I mean, all the things that come up, fear of abandonment, trauma, all the things that have kept us from knowing that aspect of ourselves, that who we truly are, they'll come up. They do come up, and then they will come up because they're there until you, and I like you say, dissolve them, because I keep going in that we're really in a fluid universe. It's fluidity. It's plasmic. It's orgasmic. It's creative, and that's where we are. I mean, that's really where we're having our experience. It's just that everything that was overlaid on us kept us from knowing that.
That's what we were saying yesterday when Lily and I were talking, is that when you're in this natural state of being, it's like you're in this walking orgasm. The feeling that you have, the excitement, the energy that comes from it is just so explosive. It's like simultaneously grounding and expansive. And it's this feeling of deliciousness that swirls through you in a way that nothing, when you are out of that, it hurts. Like, it's so gross. Right. That is the easiness, right? Where it's like, or when you try to have relationships or friendships or conversations that don't hold that same energy, it's just sticky and icky and so bleh. Exactly. But that beautiful orgasmic state of being, that's where we want to reside. That's actually where we naturally reside if we don't create resistance.
Yeah. The reason we were both laughing, Christine, is because that's exactly what we were talking about. What you were saying is just yesterday we were talking about this, and then that's Melissa put it. It's like this energetic orgasm, or maybe people will say it's a kundalini, but it's.
I don't like kundalini, because kundalini to me is
co-opted.
It's been co-opted. Okay. It also puts it so in the structure, and where I find the orgasmic field is everywhere. It's not like just the, yes, it's the polarities that mix, and it's the caduceus, and it's the wings, and it's the energetics. But, yeah, exactly. Kundalini has been co-opted, scripted, systemized, ad nauseum, so that, even the word tantra, it's like for me, it works that I strip away all of those and just describe energy. And you can have that experience in partnership, out of partnership, simply sitting on a rock, hugging a tree, immersing yourself in the ocean, all of it is orgasmic. She, she creatress, all right? The manifest realm is immersed in this energy. It's everywhere, right? So I've had exquisite, like you said, it's scrumptious, it's delicious, it's joyous, it's expansive, and grounded at the same time. And so when you've had that experience enough, it is when you're sitting in with other people, or you're in a conversation, or you're in a social system, or anything that's not vibrating at that level, you're so aware of it. You're so aware of it. And, so once you've touched that, I mean, it's like home. It's home.
Yeah. And then the work is to bring that forward in every moment. So when you are in those sticky, icky situations, allow yourself, rather than constrict, right? Because it is painful or gross, allow ourselves to alchemize it and trust the process.
Mm-hmm. And it's part of it, yes, because it's otherwise we're separating again. We're separating it out again. Yeah. And, I mean, it's recognizable. I'm sure all of us have had that experience when we express that nature truth, when we express it in a field where there's not maybe those receptors out there, the others that aren't ready to hear that this threatens them, you're going to get, will be friction, there'll be resistance in it. And, but that's our continuing process, right? I mean, we're not going to step out of that process and ascend to the heavens up above and, look down and go, oh, look, I mean, we are immersed in it always, all the time. So it is part of it. And even if it doesn't feel good, it's still part of it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We sort of skipped and went into a different subject. And Claudia, you didn't finish talking about the reptilian brain.
Yeah. Okay. I missed that probably when I went off for my break.
Yeah, we go off track. I do that all the time, but I would love to hear Claudia.
Yeah.
What I want to say is we should embrace our reptilian side, because I can only speak from my own experience. The reptilian races have, for example, an honor code that I have not observed in any human being. And that is something we as humans should learn, because it'll help us with our stance where morality is concerned. And that is inevitable if we want to grow beyond this matrix, beyond this illusion.
Can you describe the honor code? I know from my own experience too, but what is it that they honor?
When they make a promise, they will keep it or die. When they agree to protect someone, they will protect that one, even if it does take death.
So it's this is really profound, Claudia. I mean, I think this is something that you're right. We've broken promise after promise, word after word.
Well, that's why they don't have any respect for humanity. Basically, I mean, most reptilians see humanity as tantrum-throwing toddlers with no parents to correct their behavior.
Yeah,
That's what it comes down to.
Look at our governments and look at the people. They're worse than toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
They're stupid toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
With guns in their hands.
Guns in their hands, pointing at each other.
Right.
What is more stupid than that? And who is out of humanity is more stupid than those that point guns and big guns that can destroy the whole world? I mean, that's the most stupid human beings ever.
Mm-hmm. and they lie and they deceive and they break their word, and they know up front when they're saying something that there's no truth in it. So I mean, that code of honor, if we wouldn't call it a code, but it is, maybe it is a something fundamental that we really need to really have in our consciousness, that you are only as good as your word, right? If you give your word, if you put into action something through your word, you must stand by it. And if you find later that you're going to change course or break a treaty or break a promise, you must honorably do so, face to face with the person that you gave your word to. I mean, this for me is like when it gets into the levels of sovereignty and the levels of own personal experience that I've had, on both sides. Breaking my own promise. If I break my own word, I am damaging myself. Mm-hmm. All right. I am dishonoring me. Right. And I have to pay the consequences of that. That's just the way it is.
And devaluing yourself too.
Right, exactly. So, this holding this through, and if it's coming through the reptilian and the races, the Draco race, or the aspect of ourselves, we need to remember that too, because we're talking about, mother, fluid, love, and all of that. But it does come down to action. It does come down to what we do. And I think this is something that, and I know that, Claudia, and I, when you said that too, because I'm remembering that experience with the reptilians on the ship. It wasn't like I was teaching them anything. I wasn't doing that. I was sharing a consciousness, and I understood that so deeply that these were beings of honor, right? And because that there wasn't a conflict or division there in that moment, that there was a real communion. There was an honoring me, and they honored the honor came back, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And so, I mean, okay, so we have a natural structure there, because as fluid as we are, creation has structure to it too.
See, the way I see it is this honorable behavior is in the human nature, but it is no longer in the human condition. Mm-hmm. Because humans have allowed to be corrupted, and not only that, but they helped corrupt themselves.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Which is pretty stupid.
Right. And, see, this is another little fine point here. And, and I don't know how to say it for anybody else, because, there is also a tendency like everything's okay, everything's perfect. All these things are just, swirling around together, and we're all one big massive being. And yet, if you and I, Claudia, and I know we've all had this, what do you do as an individual when somebody's word to you is broken, or where you're dishonored, or where you're publicly attacked? Lily's gone through many of those things, right? Do we just turn away and walk away, or how do we alchemize that, right? How do we, those are they're fine points, and maybe it is in the field of just there's no one way to respond, that each individuated aspect or event of dishonor is dealt with as it must be within the ability to do so. Like there's no set in there. But I feel for me that something in me had to stand up in my own truth. I didn't even have to maybe go say anything, but I needed to know deep inside myself, that I wasn't also not going to not dishonor myself by allowing some other energy to attack me or dishonor me. And I don't know, I'm questioning that. I'm kind of throwing it out there for what that.
I've kind of started seeing all these happenings as a tool. Obviously the worst thing anyone could do is react by simply acknowledging that somebody has been bitching about you. If you don't react, you don't add fuel to the situation, so it goes away much quicker, because people lose interest if nothing happens. And the reason I see it as a tool is because every time I don't react to such a situation makes me proactive. I don't need this kind of energy, therefore I turn my back on it. It's not about me anyway. No matter what they say about me, it's never about me. It's about them. Mm-hmm. And in that sense, what somebody thinks of me is none of my business. And it's exactly the same the other way around. What, the way somebody acts is none of my business either. And I'm none of their business. And I'm not going to make it my business by reacting. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, go ahead, Lily.
Which you said, Claudia, I just want to add a little bit of my own personal experience with that. The honor and the self-respect and the self-love, it does sort of, I feel it so much more by accepting the reptilian part of me. Mm-hmm. That gives me, it's almost like my morality bloomed within me. And then I'm putting this together and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of that rejection of that reptilian brain of us, or reptilian part of us that's propagated onto humanity. It's pushed onto humanity. And why is that done is big part of it is to get rid of the morality in human beings. Mm-hmm. So it does have a lot to do, the reptilian DNA and the morality.
Yeah.
And so the more we reject that, the less moral we human beings are. So mm-hmm. There is connection there. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge confirmation for me and an interesting sort of point to look at. So thank you, Claudia.
Well, and I think just holding that space too, that when we do receive some type of an attack, that if we consciously recognize what it is and have compassion for the situation, for where they are in their own journey, and not judge it and just allow it to be as it is with the compassionate perspective, I think that in and of itself is being of service to yourself, because then you're not in a reactionary state, but you're also then being of service to others, because you're not perpetuating that loop that can be created of going back and forth. And it's just allowing them to sit in their own reality without drawing either into the others. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably several ways that we naturally when we're out of like the need to defend, or that's really gets a lot of people. I mean, we're talking about honor. How many right now? There's somebody that I know is going through this thing. It feels like he's been dishonored, that his honor's been called into question, right? So he feels like he needs to defend his honor. And and that's still keeping that resonant level going there. You can probably move it into. A lot of times I've felt and I've dealt with it in the sense of like counter force, like bringing it into the field like through Aikido, right? Where you actually take that force. You have to clear yourself, because if you're in a reactionary state, we can't deny when we get into a reactionary state either. And that doesn't do us any good. I mean, that's a repression aspect. So something stirs, reacts, this is coming in. But to be able to take that energy and redirect it into the proactive, redirect that energy, take it from you, somebody's attacking on the negative, and move it into proactive. Like, instead of reacting against it, use it, because it's energy. On some level, it's just energy. So somebody's like pouring negative stuff. That's happened so many times. Some of the biggest or the most important aspects of me, of my own self-discovery, have come through these attack vectors. Right? They were the ways that I learned how to see myself. They're the ways that I started understanding the manipulations of energies, the vampiring aspects, but being able to use that. Not like vamping it off with somebody else, but in that way. Claudia is saying,
allowing it into your field so you can alchemize it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. And, in sometimes we don't have, it seems like we don't have a choice, or for me, it's been that way. Sometimes the energies have come in so hard and heavy that it's not like I even have a choice here. It's like, deal with this.
Right? Yeah. Well, it doesn't even matter the details of it. Like you're saying, it's looking at it from the perspective of everything is energy, period. Mm-hmm. Is it in alignment? Is it out of alignment? It doesn't matter the details of it. You don't need to get personal. It doesn't need to be labeled in any way. It's just, it is what it is, and let's work with it.
Right. And
it's like, harmonizing in, with other musicians, it's just that it's just energy it's not in harmony with the planet. It's not in harmony with the living field. So what you can do about it? How can you harmonize that? Yeah, how can you harmonize that? Mm-hmm. Because it's an energy, and if you harmonizing, this is what the alchemy of energy to me is. If you make that into a harmony, then it adds to the sound, and it creates more beautiful. Because somebody in disharmony can mess up the whole the whole thing for the rest of the orchestra. So we have the responsibility to make sure that everything that is within our field is in harmony. So then we know that we're creating living reality.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yes, you become the conductor of the orchestra. Mm-hmm. You have the instruments retuned, and then you start conducting, and in order to bring back the harmony. Mm-hmm. And then you can watch all the negativity dissolve.
Yes.
See, that I was just going to say that too, Claudia. It's like, it's like somebody's hitting a note that's out of harmony with the rest of it. If you can alchemize it, you're actually reverberating it back to them, because it's not coming in. So they're either going to start to, and I don't mean it directed, like it's not directed, I'm going to reverberate to Mr. X over there. It's just that when you work with that energy level, that reverberation has its effect, that ripple that goes back, and that other receptor will either start to come into that attunement, or it will actually go further out of attune. But either way, it leaves your field, or the field of operation that you're in at that moment. And and there's free will there too. And then that's another thing, that's another little piece that I keep coming up to, is like really understanding every individual has free will. Right? So if a being is choosing to stay in the negative, that's within the free will universe also. Right? I mean, it's like, it's not my responsibility to keep bashing up against that. And I don't know the grandest scheme of all of it, right? How that's going to manifest, or how, Lily, what you said in the beginning, earlier on too, is that somehow we know this field knows this invasion, this implant, this whatever we want to call it, disease mechanism is here, and somehow we know that this is going to be alchemized here, right? Yes. It's going to be dissolved here and now. And I think we start to say that with a lot of certainty. Right?
We're doing it right now.
And so, it's like it's been put on notice. You're in this field. Do you want to come in this field? Do you want to play in this field of creation? Well, if you're coming in as a parasitical vampiric energy that really, I can say that even disease mechanisms have a interaction here that's appropriate. But this really, really, the vampire that wants to suck all the lifeblood out of everything that it possibly can, it's on notice right now. We're coming at you with love. We're coming at you with huge, wide open arms, man. And we're gonna hug the crap out of you. We're gonna dance with it. Your energy. We're gonna dance with you. So, well, okay, fine, great, you're here. And if there's something that's so locked down, that's so has such a necessity to stay within that absolute absence of life. Well, I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to be encapsulated. I don't know if it's going to be, put into its own little compressed world of I'm imagining things right now. I'm sorry. I'm going to see all of that matter being compressed into something. Okay, here's your little world. Go play. But you're now that small, and you're there. I don't even know where that came from.
A while ago, I think like a year ago, I want to, kick the shit out of it and gather all of them, and I'm like, oh, okay, the ships are coming. Please come and take this idiots off of this planet. But now it's like, oh, I have to love them. So I'm like, oh, I have to love them. Oh, I can love the shit out of them.
Literally.
Literally. Let's love the shit out of this children. We see they're spiritually immature children. That's what it is. People that are affected or possessed or serve this war consciousness, they're spiritually immature toddlers.
And yet, what we're really doing, and this is the finite, between the dualities, is that we're really loving a child back into its magical self.
Yes.
Right? That's the inverse part of it, because to be a spiritual being of an expansion, you also have to have that magical wonder of that child that we really, really, truly are. These are spoiled children throwing their toys out of their cribs because they're not getting what they want. So,
yeah, and the thing is, they have a lot of realizations to go through, and they have the process of awakening to go through. And what we can let them know right now is that we're here and we're loving. We are capable of expressing this source love that we are. We are it. And so for that, we will love them as children. We will love the possibilities that are within them, because these beings don't recognize the creator within. Right. They don't know it. They haven't found it yet. And so what we can do is show to them that it is there to be found. It is there to be expressed.
By doing it for ourselves, there you come right back to it, because it's really about that key of self-love. Because through me, I am the M that is connected to everything, and then you really get to take away the agendas, the egos, the saviors, the healer, all the labels that we've been putting on certain actions or how we view ourselves. We are all of that. We are all of it. So wow, ladies, this is so cool. I wonder if this is a good place to end.
I just along that aspect, I just wanted to say that having a softness to really share that there's a beautiful energy right now that is supporting a kindness and a tenderness and a softness with oneself. And just that's just something that I'm experiencing, it's at a depth that I've never felt before. So
I agree.
I don't know if you are too, but it's quite delicious.
I totally agree with that, because it wasn't until really recently that an aspect of me as warrior came down. And I admire warriorism, and I admire spiritual warriorism. But I also realized along that line also came along with that was a real strong energy that rejected and protected. And I'll bring that warrior up if I need to. I don't have, it's not like I'm rejecting it completely, but I did, and it's the softness of the field that the gentleness, the strength of the gentle is like huge, and yet we miss it most of the time. I mean, that's the real strength right there.
Yes.
So,
my experience has been the same, Melissa. Never have I ever in my life felt that inner strength that I feel today. It's unbelievable. Yet it is just this giggly. energy. I mean, I giggle a lot now. I don't know.
I love it.
Drive around smiling.
Yeah, and I do it with myself, by myself, which is weird. And a lot of times I do that on my walk, so I'm like, at least I'm with dogs, so people will think that I'm just, having a conversation with the dog.
I started dancing in the grocery store the other day by myself. I'm, the stupid mega store of all, and I just started dancing.
Yes.
And because it is authentic, because it's just something that just bubbles up through the field, right? And and then you really can see that joy permeates matter. It permeates other people, and it's contagious. So we're the new contagion of joy and love.
Yes, and you can feel those bubbles almost like I can feel it going through my spine. I can feel that, the thought form being born. I can feel it in my body as the thoughts are coming together. I can feel that energy that is birthing that original thought.
Yeah.
I can feel that. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. And I know, and it's like we were talking about all this other stuff and all this attempts to stop this. They're like, then you look at them because you were in this empowered state of being that they're like so puny, and you go, oh.
Yeah.
It's like, just wow. I don't have words to even to put to the feelings and the fluidity of this energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I've been spending so much time in water because I felt like, and now, so my energy, I don't know if water was helping me to gain the fluidity in this energy, but I mean, I was like, water. I just want to go and just stick my nose out, and that's what I was doing in like hot springs and everything, just being all in water. Just and this energy is just add so much fluidity to the thinking process, to being process, everything in this fluidity right now. There's no more of that thing that was going on. It's not there. I can see people going, but like it doesn't affect me anymore the way it used to. I'm sure that I haven't, I'm still processing a lot. I know that this is just the beginning. I just feel that this is just the beginning. There's so much more of that we can become. I feel like this is just the beginning for me.
It is. For me, it is too, Lily, and it's so profound. I know we've all been struggling for the past maybe 2 months or a month and a half to try to find the language to express this energy, because it's not easy. It is so subtle. It is on a field of experiential that we've long haven't had contact with. It's always been there. And so, but I think we've done a pretty good job today. And I'm certainly sitting in the field myself right now and feeling it. And I would love to say to people, get together with those that are feeling this and share it, because it's so augmented by being with you, all of you today. It really is. Because I don't really have, I'm very fortunate, and much more fortunate than a lot of people, that I do have people in my life that can share this, but it's a handful. Right? And I know there's a lot of folks out there right now that are going through this, but they're still very isolated. So sharing to me is a big part of it. Allowing and sharing, and then moving, and allowing and sharing and moving. It was all one of the same thing.
And opening this energy to others, because there is no need to protect this energy anymore. It is very, very powerful. It is very powerful. on the planet. It is very powerful with those that are harmonizing themselves with this energy. It's so powerful. There is no need to protect it anymore. Just, we gotta be. We gotta be what we say we are. We gotta be now. It's the time of being. You know, we talked about this energy. We talked, and a lot of people even, you know, I might sound like I talk a lot of negative stuff about alternative communities and alternative media, but they've done a lot of talking about this energies and what is might look like or might be like to whatever you call it, to ascend or to integrate Christ consciousness or become that Christ consciousness. We've talked about this, and now we can and have to integrate that into our beingness. We have to become that. How do you become it? If you have the imagination and ability, and then if you had the idea what it is, now is the time to become it.
I think
so. Whatever you are waiting for to happen, now it's time to be it.
Right. So this is one sentence, because it came to me before we started talking today, was I go, what happened to the wave? Everybody was talking about the wave all year. Where's the wave? And then it was like, boom, you are the wave.
We are the
wave. Right?
I know.
It's like, oh my gosh, yes. You know, so it's like, that is that, we are that. Right?
Yeah.
So,
we are.
Like whatever that energy that we were all perceiving, pushing into this reality is now, boom, it's moving through us right now.
Yeah. And I don't think that it's that we have to become anything. We're just allowing the dirty overlay to dissolve away. We're already there. Because if we were becoming it, we couldn't feel it and know it already. It's already there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So beautiful.
We're it.
Yeah, I mean, all those little trite sayings, they're true. You know, we were the ones we were waiting for, you know.
Exactly. We're the wave. We are the event. We are the ascension. We are the fifth dimension or whatever. We are fourth dimension, right? We already are. Because there is a talk online that, oh, we're going into fourth dimension. We're just talking before recording.
Well, I think we've been there since fourth dimension is where the jinn are and the demonics are and all the astral planes are. You know, I mean, fourth dimension was never really outside of us. That opened a while ago, and so we're moving through these things, and it is what you say, Melissa. I mean, I would say that again in my own words too. It's already there. It really is. It was already formed. And, I love this. You know what I would like to do next time we get together? Maybe with your friend, is really talk more specific about the 22 races and the DNA structure. I find that really fascinating because I'm very aware of myself that really what we're doing is unwinding our DNA strands. Like we are in a process right now, and maybe focus more on the body template and the body overlays. So that would be a really valuable conversation to share.
Yes. Yes, it was very interesting because it's coming up. So that means we are in the process of integrating all that. So
yeah, but I mean, we could talk for hours here, but you know, for putting this out, I think it's beautiful. And then I really would like to go for the next piece there, because I feel like that's coming into my consciousness too, understanding the DNA codes. I mean, I end up writing things that I don't really know where they come from, but like firing off all these DNA codes in us, which is our expansion and our memory, and getting out of this idea that, you know, there's other out there that's doing things to us. Oh. Anybody else want to say anything right now? We can close it, and then how long are we into this recording, Claudia? Do we know?
A little bit less than 2 hours, I think.
Okay, I think that's a good place. No, I mean, to really just say this is so beautiful, and
this is just the beginning. We're just starting
to
put words to what to all of this, right? I'm just like, yesterday I was telling Melissa, I don't know. I'm gonna trust myself that I'll find some words to express into this mental realm. But it's all here, and we feel it, and it's just, there's so much joy in allowing your original self to be.
And to express and to create and to, I mean, this is the aspect of me. I'm just so much joy about just the act of creation right now, because it's like I'm allowing my hands, my mind, my heart to be in this fluid manner, and it is creative. We are creators and creators. I mean, really, truly, fundamentally, at that core, we are. And so the joy of expression, I mean, Neil's, how he talks about his joy of expression, right? The need for creativity, and all that's been clamped down. So in any way we can, express.
Even cleaning the house. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's the intention behind what you're doing. What is the quality of the vibration that you are expressing in every moment? And if you don't like it, shift it.
Yes, exactly. Carl Jung says, human can change in the moment that it decides to change. That's how easy it is. We made it sound so hard, with all the psychology and all the babble and the this and the that. No, it's a choice.
Less than a breath.
You don't like what you feel? Change.
Not a victim. No victim. And it's less than a breath away. So knock the crap off and create what you want.
Exactly.
That's not in that responsibility, the victimizer, that's a total game. That's a same more consciousness game. That is, it's not us. It's not us. When you are responsible for your field, that is not part of your field. The victim part is no longer there. Now moment, right now, right here. I am in this moment sitting here. I'm the happiest person in the whole world, because there is nothing wrong with my life right now. There's nothing wrong with this moment.
How can you be the happiest person in the whole world if I am?
We have multiple worlds.
Oh, right, exactly. Oh, it's
in my world.
It's your world in my world. But yes, that feeling comes through us when we are in touch with that which we are. You just feel
and it is very strong.
It's extremely strong. And I mean, I'd say I'm fortunate. I don't know the right word to express it. Happiness doesn't really cut it. Bliss probably comes the closest to it. Because going back into that orgasmic field of creation, there is a bliss factor. And it's not like blast off bliss. It's just a permeated field of it. That is reality. That is. The rest of it was the false, the matrix, the whatever we've had to go through to come back to this. Maybe we always had it and then we left it because we didn't really know how to appreciate it, right? And so here we are sitting here with experiencing that again. And it's such a gift. Such a gift. So much gratitude in it.
There is also from this, because that ether energy is in timeless space. So, and when it expresses through us, it expresses always at a perfect time. And this is what I'm noticing. The timing of things are like, wow, just wow. The timing of things in my external reality are just shockingly beautiful.
Yes.
Because you're that good at creating.
Yes.
All right, ladies.
Okay, well, that was really beautiful.
A beautiful talk.
What I love is that the weave of the words of all of us, we're really all conscious and we're all weaving this together, and it's each of us individually, but you can see that. You can see the timing. You can see the moments as they come up, and as long as we keep letting go, dissolving, let go, dissolve, let go, we don't, at the same time that we're creators within this field, we're also part of an orchestration that is just like, wow, like you said. So thank you so much. And I'm glad we did this.
Yeah. Oh, dissolve and let go. And the movement is very important because something's coming up. It's about, we talk about the lymphatic system. We forgot to talk about that. But that, and because it requires movement, because it's got to become fluid too. Yeah, it's got to become fluid. So whatever we can do to make everything in alignment, body, mind, soul, or 3 levels of consciousness, all in alignment in this fluid energy of ether.
Yes.
So thank you, and I'm going to end the recording here, and I'm sure we'll have another one. Everybody.